Hey, good morning. It's Wednesday, April 30th. I think we're getting into spring here. I hope everything is well with you and yours. Wanted to talk pretty quickly about this journey in karting as a parent. And I know and have been to tracks across the U.S. and have bumped into parents with racers at all phases of their journey, from starting to just getting full contract and being able to support themselves, and into later stages of the career. I've seen that in two wheels and I've seen it in four wheels. Most of my time has been spent around parents of world championship racers on two wheels. I know that sounds like a lot coming from somebody you've probably never seen or met, but it's the truth. I still talk to those parents. I still talk to those racers. They're a little older now from when I met them as teenagers. I still get a kick out of seeing them go out there and rock the world off those tires and bikes that they're riding, and beat their competition, and sometimes get beaten by their competition, and how it humbles them and how it helps them to focus and come back stronger. So this journey into motorsports for me had really started off, as an amateur racer. But seeing, these talented folks do amazing things, and then learning how to do some of those things, or approximate doing some of those things on my own. I started racing much later in life. I just simply my family didn't have the money to go racing. So, what are you going to do, right? But for the kids that do have those opportunities, you come alongside and you clap for them and their families, and you make sure that they have the support that they need to go and do this very fantastic and amazing, very technical, very physical, and ultimately very dangerous thing in certain instances, actually in most instances. For my son, the journey really started off not so much with him embracing, Formula One or Formula Two, Formula Three, or even MotoGP. I had taken him to tracks. He loved going to race events with me, but it wasn't his jam, right? Wasn't interested. He didn't really get interested until, I think, just as we got into the pandemic, and not in the way that you think. Nothing is thrust upon folks. You have to choose things. So I told my son, I said, every step of the way, he's had to make a choice. You can either say yes, you'd like to try this, or no, you don't want to try this, and that's fine. But once you say yes, you have to commit to it. And obviously we want him to have a great experience, and be able to get him to progress. So we started off with Mario Kart, and I know it seems unconventional. It's a little goofy game, but for an 8-year-old learning racing, it's fantastic. And there are a lot of goofy racing games like that in a lot of platform games. But that's how we started. We would just run the most difficult circuits in Mario Kart, and I would teach him, yes, the physics are not real world physics. It's exaggerated physics, but I'd say, here's how you win. You got to take this line. You got to do this. You got to do this. And so while he's having fun, he's also learning how to navigate a track and navigate his competition. And then we immediately went from there to electric powered karts. Oddly enough, the karts look like the little vehicles in Mario Kart. So it is something that, he took to right away. And first time we come out, he's counter steering into the turn. I'm going, I don't know too many kids who know how to naturally, to counter steer into a turn when the back end breaks loose, and they counter steer. So, as to keep the vehicle, in the direction that they want it to go. Since that time, he's just gotten faster, and I'm thankful. For his commitment. You see the training videos. There's a lot more of it to post. but his commitment, and there are days when, he doesn't want to do his stretches and he doesn't want to do his push-ups. And I say, hey, look, listen, it's 5 minutes of push-ups, right? It's 10 minutes of stretching. Just make it part of your day. And so, I think you start to learn, and I have talked with parents of world champions for the last 20 years or so. The one thing in common that they all have, their stories all have, is really a few things: consistency in time and investment of energy, and in support. Right, making sure mentally, emotionally, physically, that they have all the things that they need to go and do this thing. And then once they lock in, you still have to stay consistent. There's a lot that can happen. There's a lot of people that are hungry for those contracts and those sponsorships. There is a lot of competition. You just went from being the best in your town or in your region or in your state to being the best in your country, to being the best on a given Saturday or Sunday, to potentially being the best for that, which makes you a world champion. And there's a lot of waypoints along that journey. So it's not an easy journey for the parents either. And they will tell you, a lot of them have heavily invested, sold homes, packed up the entire family, moved to different continents. That's Casey Stoner's family. Even families that have directed all of the resources from family businesses into funding the racing. And families that have just completely invested. And I mean, if you're lucky enough to have sponsors, fantastic. But not everybody is lucky enough to have sponsors. So you got to put yourself out there, and perhaps in a way that seems unnatural to most folks. Most racing families are fairly private. There are parts that they're very public about, and there are parts that they're very private about. I think the one thing that's kind of come through is just really staying consistent in how you show up and your support. I support a lot of their kids since they were teenagers. We're talking 10 years on for some of these cats. Some of these cats, I've seen them, go from their entry point into their careers to retirement. And still some are actively still rising. So it is a complex journey. There's nothing easy about it. Probably the simplest thing to do is just stay on your path with a set of goals for the weekend. Keep them as simple as possible, one step at a time. I don't know where my son's journey is going to lead him. I think in my mind, ultimately, I just want him to have the skill and the capability and the confidence that comes along with that, and knowing how to race and do this very dangerous thing to a degree that he can achieve some success. What does success mean? Success means, maybe winning a race or two. Success means, coming home safe. Success means, understanding we could have just sat around at home and been a traditional family, going to movies and eating ice cream, and in many ways we're still that family, eating pizza and cheeseburgers, but we chose to go do this thing. And it has transformed our lives. Is it always easy to do? No. Nothing in life worth having will ever be completely easy. Aspects of things may come to you fairly easy, but most things will challenge you and rend you and, take you from positive to negative, to doubts, to self-doubts, to maybe some dark places and then back again. But that is life. So, all the push-ups and all the boxing lessons and all the tennis lessons and all the running and all the stretching and all the nutrition, it means something. You know, we don't get a lot of support, but we do get some support where it counts, and that's really all you can expect. You know, and all you can say is thank you to all the folks that have supported us this far and have had supportive comments for us. And as for the rest, we just get up and we keep going. So if you've got a kid in motorsports or 2 wheels, 4 wheels, or you got a kid in sports, all the best. Keep getting up. You know, be good and be lucky. Enjoy your day.